Good day, Virgin Islanders, at home and abroad. I'll begin today, as I normally do, with an update on where we are in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, we have tested 417 individuals for COVID-19 in the territory. 331 of those tests came back negative, 51 positive, and we have 35 tests pending. 44 of the 51 have recovered, and we have only one fatality, which means we are currently tracking 6 individuals in the territory with COVID-19. That's 6 active cases. I want to be clear that in this critical time, attempts to spread rumors and misinformation serves no one's best interest. In fact, you are putting the health and public safety of residents in the community at risk when you spread misinformation. There are no COVID patients hospitalized at the 1F Louis Hospital, and there still remains 2 patients at Roy Lester Schneider Regional Medical Center. One is in stable condition and one is on a ventilator. There's been rumors over the last couple days of an individual who had passed away in the territory of COVID, and that we were holding that information from the public. I would like to assure the public that is a false statement. It is untrue that we are withholding any information from the public, and would never attempt to do so, as it would not serve any gain to the administration or to you, the community. The individual in question passed away in Georgia. He was never in the Virgin Islands when he contracted the disease and unfortunately succumbed to the illness. I want to take a little moment to talk about this, the stimulus checks. And as we solidify our response to the public health crisis, we are equally engaged in the response to the community's personal economic challenges. Your pocketbook. I'm keenly aware that everyone does not work for the government. And there are a lot of people in our community whose lives have been severely disrupted economically as a result of the pandemic. I know a lot of you out there are not getting paid. I know you're not working. But this is something that's affecting all of us from the public health perspective and from the financial perspective. I fully understand the stress and anxiety that affecting our community, and the way that you worry about how you're going to pay your bills and how you're going to take care of your family. And we are working tirelessly to ensure that we can provide every single relief we can. We have begun the process of identifying the eligible taxpayers and their most recent mailing addresses. We are in the process of arranging the specifics of the transfer from the U.S. Treasury to our Treasury locally. All of this is to make sure that you get that tax stimulus check as quickly as possible. As soon as we have the final rules from Treasury, we will begin the disbursement of sending out those checks. We hope to have that done within the next 2 weeks. There has been no decision by Congress or the President in making the Disaster Supplemental Assistance Program, what you commonly refer to as DSNAP, or disaster food stamps. There's been no agreement by Congress or the President to make that available during the crisis. However, in the absence of these, their actions, or the federal action on any matter, I am reminding everyone who may have lost their job or their source of income that you may be eligible for traditional DSNAP or food stamp program. In addition to your unemployment insurance, you're encouraged to pick up the form from one of our offices in Newt Hansen Memorial in St. Thomas, Mars Hill in St. Croix, any major supermarket in the Virgin Islands. We've also put those forms there for you, or you can go to the website, which is dhs.gov.vi, dhs.gov.vi, to download the forms, as those are located there as well. We are also working, and we know that the energy costs in the Virgin Islands are astronomical. So we are also working with our federal partners to secure funding to subsidize ratepayers during this state of emergency. I would like the caution the public that we're still working with our federal partners to ensure that we can do this. But what we have what we have put together is a plan that would give every single ratepayer a $250 credit on your light bill, and for those commercial enterprises, businesses, and whatnot, they would get a $500 credit on their light bill as well. I understand that people worry about paying their bills, and it's causing a lot of anxiety, financial worries, but we are working to solve that. Yesterday, I vetoed Act 33-0290. It was an act by the legislature that limited WAPA's billing cycle to 35 days. I want to assure the public that this was a reactionary measure by the Senate that would neither lower your bill nor alleviate the 60-day billing issue. All it would do was in the future cause disruption to the power plant, the utility, and to you. Remember, the August bill that was issued by WAPA and the time of the storm, the bill that would have been due right before the storm, was not issued for 6 months. In this case, it wouldn't allow them to give you that luxury. You would get billed the month after the storm, when some of you, and some of us totally, were at our lowest point. We don't want to pass these bills like this, because this measure would only serve to constrict WAPA's ability to fund future projects and further erode the bondholder confidence in the utility. We are dedicated to bringing down your bill permanently, and short-sighted measures such as this only serve to delay the projects and keep your light bill high. I also want to remind the public that we work with several of the legislators to make sure that the board understood the importance of making sure that no one's light bill, no one's power would be disconnected during this time of emergency. We have begun the hard work of repairing our community from the economic damage that is constantly being done. As I told you yesterday, we don't know whether this is the eye of the storm, the beginning of the storm, or the tail of the storm. So we have done the work to do the formation of the Restart VI Task Force. This is a team of individuals that will provide guidance on the best way to rejuvenate our economy, not just for the immediate response to the pandemic, but to achieve a diversified and sustainable economic development path for the future. We look forward to working with the legislature to enact meaningful legislation that will yield positive outcomes in the near future. Yesterday, I learned of a fire in one of our traditional neighborhoods, right there in Strawberry, actually very close to where I grew up in Diamond. And I took the time out to pass by this fire this morning and to speak to some of the neighbors in the surrounding homes there. Thank God that the fire had not caused any loss of life. Yes, it did totally decimate the house. But what was incredible about it was the neighborhood response on this issue. The neighbors, I spoke to the one lady, she came out there keeping her 6-foot distance and said she just immediately called 911 and alerted all the neighbors that that fire was occurring in their community. And then, you know, the one thing that we're constantly have to pay attention to, that the whole world is continuing regardless of this virus that we're dealing with in this pandemic. So the fire service, when they called them, they responded quickly. They were very complimentary of the firemen because, as you know, those houses are rather close to one another. They had to constantly wet down the propane tank that was in the neighbor's yard. There was a car in the parking lot that also caught fire. Very dangerous situation, lots of smoke. By the grace of God, the wind was blowing in the right direction, and the fire team was able to get it out rather quickly and avoid any damage, amazingly, to any of the surrounded houses. I noticed the one neighbor had a little burnt spout on the downspouting, but that was it. But it is a reminder that good neighborhoods are made from good people. And we certainly want to thank those men and women that responded from the VI Fire Service to ensure safety of life and as well, and secondly, of property to those homeowners. Finally, although our numbers have held steady for the last few days, it is way too early to read anything into that trend. We must continue our efforts at social distancing and practicing proper hygiene and washing those hands. Remember, you have to stay vigilant. We are starting the initial discussions on how we responsibly reopen our economy, because we're going to have to do that one day. But how soon we get there depends on the continued cooperation of this community. I must remark that I was in St. Thomas overnight. I had the occasion to walk the Haven site track this morning. I hope you guys are staying fit out there and doing some exercise. I walked the waterfront, and I was impressed to see that the safaris had social distancing. People were complying, and amazingly, there was no traffic in St. Thomas at 7 a.m. in the morning. So keep up the good work of that. And remember, stay safe and sanitize. I also have the Commissioner of Health here to answer any question today. And we have the good fortune of being joined by my illustrious Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Tregenza Roach, to share with you the work that we have been doing to further alleviate your bills and your worry in the banking system. Lieutenant Governor?
Good afternoon, Governor. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone and to all those listening and viewing. We wanted to take this opportunity to update the public on some of the work that has been happening in the offices under the Lieutenant Governor. The Office of the Lieutenant Governor, through its various divisions, supports the government of the Virgin Islands as the second highest generator of revenue. As such, it is an essential agency of the government of the Virgin Islands, and all of its divisions, with just two exceptions, have remained open throughout the period of the pandemic and the resulting state of emergency. The Passport Division has been closed, as have all passport acceptance facilities throughout the country. However, with a life or death emergency, in the case of a critical illness or in the case of a death, that may require international travel, our customer was first called the National Transport Information Center, and I think that number should come up on your screen either now or sometime during the presentation, at 1-877-487-2778. I repeat, 1-877-487-2778. And our local employees are available should those calls be directed locally. The office that deals with VI Shift is its moniker. It's the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, also Medicaid. Those offices work rules as we discourage our senior population from coming out and advise them to minimize public interaction. Those customers who are beneficiaries of those services still may call the following numbers with any inquiries, and they will be serviced as well. In the District of St. Croix, that number is 340-778-6311, extensions 3110 or 7396. Again, in the District of St. Croix, 340-778-6311, extensions 3110 or 7396. In the District of St. Thomas St. John, the number is 340-774-7166, extensions 4505 or 4507. All other divisions of the Office of the Lieutenant Governor operate daily from 9 to 3 p.m. and can be reached through the following numbers. In the District of St. Croix, 340-773-6449, and in the District of St. Thomas St. John, 340-774-2991. The Lieutenant Governor also serves as chairman of the Banking Board and Commissioner of Insurance. Through the Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation, we have been in contact with the banks with regard to each bank's response to the pandemic, including service to the public and treatment of employees. We'd like to emphasize to those customers out there to have some patience with the banks, because we must also consider that those persons who work in these establishments are also our residents and also are deserving of protection and working in spaces where social distance can be conducted and where their health is a major concern. We did have a concern in the town of Fredericksburg, and we believe that now that issue has been resolved with the opening of the first bank, the reopening of the first bank branch in Christiansted. We have been discussing with the banks throughout this time service to customers. The Banking Board met on April 3rd, 2020, to discuss all banking-related issues during this time and specifically relief to customers who may be experiencing financial hardship. The two pressing items for today include mortgage forbearance for residential consumers and business relief under the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, of the CARES Act for commercial entities. Under mortgage forbearance, the CARES Act provides for forbearance on all federally owned or backed mortgages. Examples are mortgages backed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which includes USDA Direct and USDA Guaranteed. Mortgages backed by the Federal Home Administration, the FHA, to include reverse mortgages, mortgages backed by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, the Federal National Home Mortgage Association, Fannie Mae, and the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, Freddie Mac. Now, what's very important is that mortgage relief is not automatic. It must be requested by the customer. So if you're a customer experiencing difficulty keeping current with your mortgage, relief must be requested by you to your bank. The bank, under the CARES Act, will require that the customer affirm that financial hardship is being experienced and is caused by COVID-19. When the customer does this, the forbearance can be granted for up to 180 days, and the customer may request relief for another 180-day period, but importantly, that second request must be made before the expiration of the first 180-day forbearance period. Customers should request the terms of the forbearance in writing so that the repayment obligation is properly understood. That is to underscore the point that we're not talking about mortgage forgiveness. We're talking about mortgage forbearance. And so we have instructed the banks to prepare writings so that the customers are clear on the payment obligation. Individual borrowers under the CARES Act are eligible for the forbearance regardless of loan delinquency status. They're eligible whether they are delinquent on their mortgage or not, and that is an important consideration. Multi-family property or borrowers with federally backed loans are also eligible for forbearance under the CARES Act, and these include properties of 5 or more units, but in the case of multifamily properties, although they are eligible for the forbearance, they have to show that they have been current on their payments as of February 1st, 2020. Now, in the case multifamily property receives a forbearance, there's also a temporary moratorium on evictions. So a multifamily property which receives this forbearance must refrain from any eviction action for a period of 120 days from March 29, 2020. And importantly, banks may not charge any fees or penalties beyond regular interest accrued on the borrower's mortgage account during the forbearance period. Again, to repeat that although the benefit is available, it must be requested by the consumer. The Paycheck Protection Program, your screen may show payment protection. It's actually Paycheck Protection Program, and that will be corrected. It is a program to provide assistance to businesses to keep employees on the payroll during this crisis and to also help with other operating expenses. Under the Paycheck Protection Program, any small business owner can apply at any bank in the territory. To apply, we provided the website, the web link, and the shortcut can simply be to go to www.sba.gov and to follow the prompts leading you to the application. That website provides information on all financial institutions approved to process SBA applications. The Paycheck Protection Program has a 1% interest rate, maximum loan amount of $10 million per applicant. This is important. It is not a grant. It is a loan which must be repaid within 2 years. However, the program does have a forgiveness provision, and the loan will be forgiven if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities, and where the eligible recipient can satisfy all of the terms for that forgiveness as provided by the SBA. We've already received confirmation from all of our banks. Oriental Bank, they have said that they're receiving the SBA Paycheck Protection Program applications. First Bank is actively accepting the applications. Banco, which we know has closed the lobbies of its branches, the lobbies are now open, and they are also processing the Paycheck Protection applications. Merchants Bank and Bank of St. Croix are also actively involved in accepting applications for the program. Any questions or queries that the public may have can be brought to the Division of Banking, Insurance, and Financial Regulation of the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and those questions can be brought to us through the same numbers listed before, 340-773-6449 in the District of St. Croix and the District of St. Thomas St. John, 774-2991. I would also like to add before closing that although we've discussed the relief under the CARES Act, which is a federal act and which applies to federally backed mortgages that are not federally backed can also receive forbearance. But that forbearance would be on terms of each particular bank which holds a loan, and the banks may require that customers be current on their obligation prior to granting such a forbearance. Again, the most important thing is to contact your bank to seek the relief and to make sure that you have a written statement outlining how the forbearance will be actually addressed once the consumer is in a position to become current on his or her obligation. And that is the substance of this report, Governor. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you. I think we have two questions from the press at this time. I remind the press to listen to the call line, not to the social media or the transmission is delayed. Questions?
Yes, good afternoon, Governor. And it's good to be a consortium. I have three questions for you, Governor, and then one for the Department of Health Commissioner. The first one relates to WAPA. So we know over the years, whether it's propane issue, the debacle with propane, bad investments, and now inconsistent billing, WAPA over the years has had issues that the territory or its residents has had to take up the burden for WAPA, right? It's always come back to residents to pay and whatnot. Now here we have another issue with double billing because of WAPA's inconsistent billing strategy here. You said during this pandemic, no one's power will be cut. It doesn't mean, however, that folks don't have to pay those bills when this pandemic situation is gone. People still have to pay those bills. In your transmittal letter, which I got a chance to see today, you again said that it was not, 35 days is not enough time to give WAPA or any company for that matter to correct issues. But Governor, as you know, this is a time where a lot of residents are unemployed. Some of them have to choose between paying a bill, paying some of a bill, or eating. A lot of folks haven't started receiving unemployment benefits. When does the conversation move away from what is best for WAPA and what is best for the people of the territory?
So, good question. I'm happy you asked that because the bill that I vetoed would have no effect on the billing that is current. You would still have the 2 billing cycles to pay. The bill didn't do anything to address that. The legislature, in its wisdom, many years ago, limited the length of time to 3 months when you could back bill somebody to 90 days, which allowed a reasonable amount of time. So there was already legislation there, number one. Number two, remember that the bill that you're getting is not for last year. The second billing that WAPA has done was just for the month previous. So let's say it's April. So in April, you are getting your bill for March. All that WAPA did is say you're getting your bill for March and you're getting your bill for February. That they didn't back bill you more than 3 months. They only back billed you for an extra 30 days because your billing you would have to actually use the power before you get it. So technically, you're always 30 days behind on your WAPA bill anyway because you got to use the power before you actually get billed for it. The bill limiting it to 35 days didn't really solve the problem we have today, which is people have 2 bills to pay. Now, the proposal that we have that we're putting forward is that we're going to give $250 to every single citizen. That helps because now it pays the bill. Our original thought was that we would just try to take care of people's second bill. But the reality is a lot of you have already paid that. So instead of doing that and penalizing the people that have already paid, we proposed a plan that says we're going to give people a stimulus directly into their power bill by giving them a $250 credit, which addresses the problem. The problem is that people's bills are high and now it's unemployment. The bill that the legislature proposed does neither. It's talking about WAPA doing this in the future. Further, if we have another disaster, WAPA would have to bill you the month after the disaster and demand that you pay when you're going through your worst time. That makes absolutely no sense. We allow people the latitude to get their bill later on. The other thing that it would do is if WAPA thinks that they got to estimate your bill, they're going to estimate it on the high side because they only have 35 days if we had enacted that legislation, which keeps your bill high. When the bondholders are looking to see how are they going to get paid back for all these new projects, they're going to look and see, well, they have a 35-day cap in which they could bill. They're not a good credit risk because they can't reclaim dollars that may have been lost to a disaster. 1 month of building is $16-17 million, including the government $20 million. So this doesn't serve it in any way. The last thing I want to remind people is that the government pays anyway. This government paid $6 million to WAPA in January on the people's behalf, because that has never before been done where we actually subsidize the bill of the public. Here we are proposing to do it again, to be able to figure out how we give every single resident a credit on their WAPA bill. That's a solution. What the Senate proposed was just a reactionary measure to let the public feel like something's being done when it would have no effect on your current situation. You don't need help from your light bill next year in a billing cycle. You need help now, and that's what we're trying to do for you. Next question.
Okay, Governor. Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon, Governor Bryan. This is Sarah Burke with TV2. My question is, how soon will residents see the funding for the ratepayer subsidy program that you just discussed?
Hi, Sarah. We're trying to get that out in May. The first checks have gone out already. We've already gone ahead and gotten IRB to line up the people and the amounts they would have to be paid. The only thing we're waiting up for now is for Treasury to forward us the money. Right now they're going over the agreement with Puerto Rico, and we're next up to go through that agreement so we can get the money to people. So as soon as we get that cash, the Finance Commissioner, IRB Director are gonna make sure we get those checks out and straight to you.
Governor, but is the approach going to be used for the ratepayer subsidy the same way as the stimulus? You made mention of individuals being able to be provided with $250 and then business for $500. Would the streamlined process be about the same?
Well, that we wouldn't.
Disbursement, or how is that going to be done?
Well, the way that the plan is created, we would make a direct payment to your account. So you would have a credit there for $250 if you're a residential customer and $500 if you are a business customer.
Go directly to WAPA?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Governor.
Thank you. Because we have public assist. We have dollars coming to people through the stimulus checks to take care of their needs, like the cosmetic needs, soap, dishwashing liquid, that kind of things. We have the SNAP program to provide food for people, and now we're looking to have an energy subsidy to take care of these high electric bills that we're now having in the Virgin Islands. Other questions?
That's it, Governor.
Good afternoon, Governor. Sean Pennington from the Sword.
Hi, Sean.
I'm happy to be where I am right now. A question that doesn't have anything to do with necessarily today's discussion, but it has come up a couple of times relative to the beaches. And the question is that the commercial fishermen, I'm told, I didn't witness it, but are being removed from the beaches when they're trying to catch fry and sprat. And as you know, they can't fish without the bait fish. So I'm wondering if we can get some clarification on that.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. We received the same complaint as well. We're updating the DPNR and the police to let them know that they are allowed to go on the beaches to catch the bait. Some of these things are of a practical matter, but I am impressed by the law enforcement, strict enforcement of my orders, but we're going to fix that for the commercial fishermen so they can get back out there. Other questions?
Yes. Yeah, hello, Governor. Let's give it again. I also would like to be given a chance to follow up or ask another question, like I heard one of the reporters did. When I tried to follow up, I realized I was muted. So I'd appreciate a chance to follow up, please. And so, Governor, just to follow up on the WAPA issue, you said the administration is working on providing residents with rebates. 250 for residential and 500 for business owners for commercial. Is this something that is assured that residents and business customers are going to receive?
Oh, thank you. No, thank you for asking that. We're working out the specifics with our federal partners, and but that's our plan. I mean, so when we vetoed the bill, it's not like we didn't have a plan to already address this in our community. We just didn't want to announce it, but people affairs and anxiety are up again because they misunderstand, number one, that the bill wouldn't help them at all. And number two, they're just worried about how they're going to pay the bills. So we're figuring out ways to help our community. We see it as a response to the coronavirus in the territory, and it being an applicable way of helping our residents respond. We have over 30% of the individuals in this community that receive some type of public assistance and fall below the poverty line. And we have like almost 75% of our kids that are subject to some form of public assistance. So we're always looking for a way to help people. We know the average American, most Americans don't even have $1,000 saved away, and in the Virgin Islands, with the incredible cost of living here, we know that people need all the help that they can get.
Okay, thanks, Governor. Before I go to the two questions, just a quick follow-up. So do you have any idea as to when you would get some kind of notification to provide some relief to the ratepayers?
We should have word on this within the next 2 weeks or so.
Oh, okay, thanks. And so, Governor, the two last questions there. One is related to the voters. So I know you discussed last week how we have a lot of voters yards coming into the territory, but staying, of course, on the water, and that a lot of them don't have any need to come down. There comes a time, however, that they would need to restock in food, and they would need to, of course, come ashore and go to a grocery store, for example, to buy items so that they could sustain themselves. Is there any coordination in place between those voters and, say, DPNR, where those folks could be checked to ascertain that they don't have the virus, for example, before going out to restock?
No, we don't have that capability. But remember, they don't want the COVID either, so they're trying to stay away from people too. It's been over at this time almost 2 weeks that most of these voters have been in our territory. I was looking back through the history of this, and it seems like we're in this over a month now. Amazingly, it doesn't seem like that long, but over a month ago, I think Monday or so, we declared the state of emergency and started to lock down the community. So we don't have a system to do that, but we don't have a system for that for anyone in our community. We're making some moves now to address people's movement in the territory once we identify that this person should be under quarantine, how we can track that. So we got some ideas and some plans about how we're going to do this. This is going to be a continuing situation. I think today is our fourth or fifth day that we haven't seen any increase in our positives, and our negatives continue to come back. Knock on wood on that, that we continue that trend. We have 35 tests out now. We'll see how those are when they are returned as well. But the voters in our community, I've actually been in communication. A couple of them have emailed us here at Government House. They want to stay safe as well, so they're staying away from our community as much as possible.
Thank you, Governor. Lastly, and this is one related to the territory's finances. Last week you told me worst case scenario, we had, say, about 2 to 3 weeks liquidity, and best case scenario, a month to a month and a half.
We lost you. I think he dropped out, but he was asking about the liquidity of cash. We continue to stay constant. People are paying the bills. I want to say a special thank you to Brisa Max and all the principals there for making that plea to the public to pay their taxes on time instead of waiting till tax day in July. They're paying their taxes on time, so we continue to take in revenue. Thank Brisa Max and all those RT Park, EDC companies, all you regular citizens that have paid your taxes on time. We thank you for that. We know it's not easy, but it's the same pot we are in here. The people who pay the taxes, the people who pay WAPA, the people who pay our paycheck, my paycheck, and the government, all the same people here in the Virgin Islands. So we thank you for doing all you can to keep our economy running and afloat. Other questions? Did we get Ernest back?
Yes, Governor, are you there?
I'm here. Ernest? Was there somebody else asking a question? We don't have any more questions, but once again, we're going good. I like what I'm seeing. I try not to get too excited about all the little wins we're having along the way. Our PPE is starting to come in now. Our hospitals are getting better every single day of managing this crisis. We continue our lockdown and our vigilance. I know that some of you still want to go to the beaches, but we're almost there. Monday is close. Things are looking positive for the beaches to reopen at that time. And then you gotta behave, you gotta do the right thing. So as we move forward, I just keep the vigilance up, don't let it down. I know you're frustrated in your homes. I know some of you are getting anxious, but just keep the vigilance up. Before I leave, I just wanna say my condolences publicly to the Burke family on the passing of their dad. The Burke family has been stalwart in our community in so many different ways. And I want to just reach out there and say this is a very difficult time for families who are experiencing death of their loved ones and relatives and friends. Some of us can't go to take part in that, but they assured me that they would have a memorial service sometime after so we can actually celebrate the life of this great gentleman. Other than that, I wish you a very pleasant good afternoon. And remember, God bless you, stay safe, and stay sanitized. Have a fantastic evening. Stay tuned, though, for the Spanish version of this discussion.
Buenos días. Comenzaré hoy, como lo hago normalmente, con una actualización sobre dónde estamos en nuestra capacidad y respuesta al COVID-19. Hasta la fecha, hemos completado pruebas en 417 individuos para COVID-19 en el territorio. 333 de esas pruebas dieron negativo, 51 positivos y tenemos 35 pruebas pendientes. 44 de los 51 se han recuperado y tenemos una sola víctima mortal, lo que significa que actualmente estamos rastreando a 6 individuos en el territorio con el COVID-19. No hay pacientes COVID-19 hospitalizados en el Hospital Juan Francisco Luis. Al momento, quedan 2 pacientes en el Centro Médico Regional Roy Lester Schneider. Uno está en condición estable y el otro está en un respirador. Quiero dejar claro que en este momento crítico, los intentos de difundir rumores y desinformación no sirven al mejor interés de nadie. De hecho, usted está poniendo en riesgo la salud y la seguridad pública de los residentes en la comunidad cuando difunde la desinformación. A medida que consolidamos nuestra respuesta a la crisis de salud pública, estamos igualmente comprometidos en la respuesta a los desafíos económicos personales de la comunidad. Todo el mundo no trabaja para el gobierno y hay mucha gente en nuestra comunidad cuyas vidas se han visto gravemente perturbadas económicamente como resultado de la pandemia. Esto es algo que nos está afectando a todos desde la perspectiva de la salud pública y desde una perspectiva financiera. Comprendo perfectamente el estrés y la ansiedad que afectan a nuestra comunidad y estamos trabajando incansablemente para asegurar que podemos proporcionar cierto alivio. La Oficina Local de Rentas Internas ha comenzado el proceso de identificación de contribuyentes elegibles y sus direcciones postales más recientes. Estamos en el proceso de organizar los detalles de las transferencias del Departamento del Tesoro de los Estados Unidos al Departamento Local de Tesorería. Una vez que ese proceso se haya completado, a finales de este mes comenzaremos el proceso de desembolso de cheques. No hay decisión ninguna al presente del presidente ni del Congreso en hacer disponible durante esta crisis el programa de asistencia suplementaria de desastre, DSNAP, por sus siglas en inglés. Sin embargo, en ausencia de una acción federal sobre este asunto, estoy recordando a todos aquellos que han perdido su trabajo recientemente que usted puede ser elegible para el programa tradicional SNAP, además del seguro de desempleo. Se le anima a recoger o descargar un formulario desde la página de red dhs.gov.vi o pasar por su oficina, ya que los formularios están a la parte exterior de las oficinas. Estamos trabajando con nuestros socios federales en asegurar fondos para subsidiar a los consumidores durante este estado de emergencia. Me gustaría advertir al público que esto aún no está asegurado, pero estamos muy cerca. El plan, tal como se concibe actualmente, requiere un subsidio de estímulo de $250 para clientes residenciales y $500 para clientes comerciales. Entiendo que esta es la fuente de ansiedad para nuestra comunidad y estamos trabajando para calmar parte de ella. Ayer vete la ley 360290. Esta es una medida reaccionaria del Senado que no reduciría su factura ni aliviaría el problema de facturación de 60 días. La medida solo serviría para restringir la capacidad de WAPA para financiar proyectos futuros o corroer aún más la confianza de los tenedores de bonos en la utilidad. Estamos dedicados a reducir su factura de forma permanente y medidas miopes como estas solo sirven para retrasar los proyectos y mantener su factura alta. También recuerdo al público que trabajamos con varios senadores y la Junta de WAPA para asegurar que nadie sufra desconexión de servicio durante el estado de emergencia. También hemos comenzado la formación de nuestro grupo de trabajo Restart VI. Este equipo proporcionará orientación sobre la mejor manera de rejuvenecer la economía, no solo para una respuesta inmediata a la pandemia, sino para lograr una senda de desarrollo económico diversificada y sostenible para el futuro. Esperamos trabajar con el Senado para promulgar una legislación significativa que produzca resultados positivos en un futuro próximo. Por ejemplo, o por último, aunque nuestros números de casos se han mantenido estables durante los últimos días, es demasiado pronto para leer más allá en esa tendencia. Debemos continuar nuestros esfuerzos para el distanciamiento social y la práctica de una atención higiénica adecuada. Mantente alerta. Comenzamos los debates sobre cómo reabrimos responsablemente nuestra economía, pero la rapidez con la que lleguemos ahí depende de la cooperación continua de la comunidad. Manténgase seguro y desinfectado. Gracias.